Hello everyone, it is time to talk about Resident Evil 9. I hope you're doing well. If you're here for a, hey, should I buy this game? I want to tell you now, this is going to include spoilers. You are going to have a ball with it. If you haven't been into the Resident Evil franchise, you're going to go down a long path. Go get it, great game. Alright, with that being said, let's discuss. This will include spoilers. Heads up, just get out of here, please. I don't want to spoil you. Alright. Resident Evil, Requiem, Resident Evil 9. Getting scary there for a little bit at the beginning. I remember we weren't really getting any information, any news for a second. I was like, what does this game look like? Leon and Grace is in here. How are they going to divvy this up? And then we started coming slowly and slowly a little bit more. But I wasn't on the huge train. I was excited because it's a Resident Evil game. As you know from my last video where I played a bunch of Resident Evil games in preparation for this, where really it was supposed to be only Resident Evil 7 and I went through a multitude of them. If you haven't seen that video, please go check it out. I'm not sure the exact record because I saw it one time and I forgot about it, but it absolutely smashed it, I think, in sales or just the Steam concurrent count of people playing, I think. And just, that's awesome. That's totally awesome. Super cool to see people really loving Resident Evil again. Remember Resident Evil 6? Yeah, I do. Like I think you heard before, this feels like a redemption of Resident Evil 6, especially with Leon's part that we'll discuss more about gameplay wise later on. But let's start out. Let's talk about the story. I like Resident Evil probably the most because of the story. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, it's funny at times, it's very serious. It's very scary. It's very interesting. A lot of loops in and out. And you require actual attention. It's a video game that feels like a video game, but it also feels like a movie at the same time. And it does that balance well, especially nowadays where my huge complaint of the newer video games just feels like everything's a movie. You play as Grace Ashcroft, you play as Leon Kennedy. Kind of a dueling thing, but it always comes together at the end. I think it's a really great story. Very interesting way to get the Ashcrofts involved. Raises her daughter, just a random quirky cat girl who stays in her apartment, FBI agent, but somehow she gets thrown into this chaotic whirlwind that her like director, her supervisor sends her in to, hey, you need to figure this out. Was insane to me, and it's still insane to me. Even on that second play, I was like, why did you send this poor girl here? She was scared shitless. To be fair, what she went through was fucking scary. Okay, and then Leon with Sherry actually as the voice in his ear. He does a lot of work to find out what's going on with Umbrella again, trying to figure out, you know, what the hell is the Ark? What is this Elpis thing? What is happening with these murders? Who the hell is Victor Gideon? We can segue into that. Victor Gideon. I think the character is so weird, but he's so interesting, and he's almost like normal. He's just a whacked out scientist trying to fulfill his master, aka Spencer's, wish.
She won't get away, you know. Dr. Gideon.
And then you have Zeno. Zeno is probably the character that I see a lot of talk about. This is Wesker. Oh, this isn't Wesker. This is Wesker. This is not Wesker. I don't think he's Wesker, but it's so weird. He has the same voice actor. You can definitely tell when you start hearing his lines initially. His demeanor and overall look and feel. So some people like to say Teemu Wesker. I can agree to an extent, but I think this guy is actually really cool. I don't think they did a good job with him. Some things were a little vague on him. We got the lightest of pieces with him. Everyone else, we got a better understanding, except him. And spoiler, if you know the ending, the motherfucker died. Another spoiler, at the cutscene of the USS, which is the Umbrella Security, whatever the fuck that stands for. I believe they're collecting this guy's head. I don't think how cool this character, the time they put in, this guy can't be a one-off character. Yes, he did lose his powers at the end, but I really want to see this guy again. And I need to see what is up with how this guy's related to Wesker. What's the intention? I really think they are trying to slowly release that constraint that they placed in RE5 of, hey, Wesker fucking died. But if there's a possibility of a remake, I think we're gonna see Wesker reemerge somehow. Definitely, I really do. And Xeno's got to be somehow involved. Some part of this. That character means something. I was playing this initially. This kind of makes me feel of like Metal Gear Solid 4. I think it's very evident with Leon's part. Some callbacks and cutscenes and other things that I don't want to get too into depth with. A huge love letter to RE2 remake specifically. I feel like Capcom is really proud of RE2 remake. I just felt it here, especially when you get an RPD with Leon and you just feel the vibe shift. You kind of feel you still need to be on your guard. You still need to be on your P's and Q's. There's a different air when you reach RPD. Yeah, story wise, I think it's a great story. Whenever you beat the game, Grace has a report, bringing everything really summarized, kind of what you get from the story, all those extra feelings that you may not be conscious of while you're actually playing the game. It really wraps it up well. Alrighty, let's talk gameplay. Probably the second most important thing to me, arguably the first for many. The gameplay is great. I have some nuances, but nothing too crazy. Grace's part, after she gets into the care center, holy shit. I think after playing it through the second time, that's my favorite part. I'm so excited to play as Leon and stuff. But that layout, best like layout for an area we've had in a extremely long time. I loved it. While I'm not going back for my third playthrough now, I'm gonna be super excited to play that again and again and again. Grace's part is sick. Leon's part is really good. It's actually very refined. That's why I feel like it's that, hey, we're trying to make up for RE6 here, okay? Please forgive us. Enjoy our game. There's a weird quirk about the overall feeling aiming with him. The scope sensitivity is off. It's really annoying. I think the day it came out, they put a post up, I think, on the store page about like sensitivity where you can find it to adjust. So they put it behind like camera settings that you had to click on further. I don't know why it wasn't under the basic menu. I don't know why they did that. Usually you can talk that up. They're like, oh, that might be like a personal problem. People are making videos on guides on how to fix your sensitivity in the game. I think then it's a problem. Once you hit dilapidated Raccoon City, you have a little small section before you get to RPD. It really lets you open up into that gameplay of Leon a bit more, but for some reason I just kind of got like I felt it was a little stretched. I got actually tired of the area. I don't know if it was because it was so barren. Given the reason, I do know why. I wouldn't expect there to be fucking Mardi Gras going on in the streets of old Raccoon City and shit. But that feeling, I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready to, let's get out of here. Let's hurry up and move it on. Would have loved if Leon had another different section besides the ones that he get. I thought the arc section was okay for what it was. This is a completely new area that comes along with this game, but apparently it's been there since the missile strikes. So in this area, to what should be no one's surprise, I enjoyed Grace's section more. On the second playthrough, I played all of her parts through third person. While yes, you know, it's scarier, that's what they're intending, this was the default setting, I did not switch that on the first playthrough out of respect for their wishes and the intention of the game developers. I have to say third person I enjoyed more. It was cool to see some of her animations more, and overall she just felt a lot better. Grace in first person is really great, and it brings the horror to the top levels. Switching between the gameplays, going back to Grace, you're kind of like, oh god, alright, oh man. And then Leon comes and just the weight slips off your shoulder, and you're super excited to actually go back. Alright, let's shoot some zombies, I ain't gotta worry about shit. Grace comes back, you're fucking screaming shit in your pants. It's a cool balance. I think they did well. I think they are right there on figuring out it perfectly, which has been a long fight. It's been a very long fight. 4 action with a hint of horror. 5 action. 6 action. The tiniest of horror. 7 horror overload. Scary as shit. 8 wacky scary with a little bit of action, I guess. And now you get a really good balance, I would have to say. All right, random other stuff that I would love to mention that doesn't need like a full rant and isn't like a core element of the game. The soundtrack of the game, a very modern horror take with the classical undertones of a good Resident Evil soundtrack. I really did like this soundtrack. My favorite parts were always anything in the background after having a fight sequence. Leon in Raccoon City before you get RPG, where it's like it has that background noise and the guy's like, oh, if you know, you know what I'm talking about if you play the game. Voice acting. The voice actor for Grace, this is her first game. Crazy. Crazy. She killed it. I think the character needs to come back in some way later on, even though she's back at her regular FBI job writing her reports. I'm a big fan of Victor Gideon. A very serious, scary character, but he's somehow a funny guy at the same time. And I'm gonna love that shit.
I've done it.
Snakeskin jacket.
I've done it.
Guy's so fucking weird, man. What the hell's wrong with this dude? What's he smoking? I think Requiem is the best looking Resident Evil now. RE2 remake, when I look at it, still impresses me. The only thing I had to do was remove the film grain. I saw the mod when I went on Nexus and I was like, I wonder how this would look. And I definitely noticed a change. So if you're playing this, go check it out on Nexus. I think this game is probably 9.5. The grievances I mentioned about the controls. I wish there was more inclusion of Leon's part, another area. The game could have been extended maybe a little bit longer, just a little bit. I'm not asking for much, probably like another small like hour worth, 2 hour area. A more extensive background on Zeno. I think that bothers me just a little bit because I think it was a really cool character. He just feels really fast, and over time I think he's gonna feel like a smaller part of the game. I really don't want him to be forgotten and just shoot away because I think the guy has great potential in this universe. I loved all scenes that he was involved in and I was like, wow, this guy's a threat. What they were going for with him, I think they succeeded, at least to me. I say this game does have replayability in terms of like you making challenge runs for yourself, the extra guns, speed running, but including a mercenaries mode with the gameplay of Leon in this one, really been nice. I would have loved to have jumped on that right after the first playthrough, but sadly we didn't have it here at launch, which is kind of odd because I'm not mistaken, Village had it at launch. All right, so what do I want to see next? That's a good question. I want to see Chris maybe. I don't know if I want a whole new character. I don't know if I want somebody to return by his side that we may know. Thinking we're gonna have Wesker involvement at some point. And I don't feel like I'm incorrect for feeling that way. Just with Zeno. And they knew that this guy was gonna bring up the Wesker discussion. We're undoubtedly gonna see a remake next. Based off RE4 remake's teaser, I would say RE5. And honestly, I think that's the safer bet. I think some things are gonna be switched around. I think it'll line up for 10. But yeah, I think that summarizes up my thoughts. This was a really fun weekend. Resident Evil releases are holidays now. I look forward to them all. The franchise is doing great now. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you right later.